Welcome in, family. Thank you so much for being here again for yet another transformational and quite informational and revelational conversation that we're about to have right here on the Global Leaders Roundtable. I'm super excited to have you here where the voices rise, leaders converge, and kingdom movements are born. I'm your host, Kenyon R. Dudley, keynote speaker, global leadership strategist, and I'm the founder of this growing global platform committed to amplifying purpose-filled voices from around the world. Now, for those of you who are just meeting me, hello. Welcome into the ecosystem that we are creating here for leaders, kingdom leaders all over the world. And my number one mission is to say something that's going to transform and transcend someone's life and introduce them to God, and in hopes of introducing them to themselves as they get closer and closer to God and the revelation that we share right here in the work that we do. We do the same thing here on this platform through conversation, bold, innovative conversation. We're talking to leaders literally from around the world that are sharing their strategies, their leadership journeys. They're sharing their revelations, their big idea. And it's our prayer that through these conversations, you find your next level, you find your next moment of revelation to be able to implement these wisdoms into your everyday life and leadership. My passion is helping leaders tap into divine identity, build with authenticity, and boldly set up their next season. And like I said, this platform is just that. It is for the visionary. This platform is for the reformer and the pioneer. And I believe that those of you who are watching in right now, you are a trailblazer and pioneer yourself. And so I'm ecstatic that you are here. This conversation that we're about to have is going to be super, super exciting, and I believe is going to give you great wisdom and knowledge. So stick around. Make sure that if you are over there right now on our YouTube channel watching this, first of all, thank you for being there, but make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you will not miss any content that we share. We've already got a robust library that's there of conversations and just discussions that we have shared on the platform. We've got great content coming up, and today is going to be no different. It's going to be great content and information. But make sure you subscribe and then go ahead and tag, like, and share, right? Let people know in your network what you're eating on. This is valuable stuff, valuable information that you want to share out with your network as well. Okay, so before we jump into our conversation and me introducing our very special guest today, just a few announcements. You know how we do it. I want to make sure that you guys are aware of what we're doing right here at the Global Leaders Roundtable. Listen, if you want to be a guest on the show, you can do that. We are still taking applications. We're lining up our next season of speakers and of guests. So why don't you go over to bit.ly/TGLR podcast and go ahead and apply to be a speaker so you can share your great idea, your leadership journey or strategy that God has given you to share with the world. And then lastly, guys, we've got something that is so amazing. I'm super proud of this. We got a Global Leaders Virtual Summit coming up, and we are going to be focusing on the topic of global kingdom leadership. September 20th through the 21st, we're going to have over 60 kingdom global speakers, guys, that's going to be coming and sharing their great idea, their strategies, and I promise you, it's going to be super valuable. So if you want to be an attendee, you can go to that link that's on your screen right now. Or if you say, I want to be a part of the lineup of speakers, you can go to that same link and you could sign up to be a speaker. Get your tickets or sign up to be a speaker at bit.ly/TGLR Virtual Summit now. All right, guys, that's it. And that's all for the announcements. I'm super excited about this conversation. We're going to jump right in. Today's guest is a bold kingdom strategist and a catalyst for transformation. One who has whose presence alone can shift atmospheres. Carol Metz Murray is a people possibility strategist. I love that. Intuitive narrative leadership coach, a consultant, speaker, and author. She brings decades of experience in leadership, organizational development, people engagement, and change strategy across business, government, and social sectors. Carol doesn't just teach breakthrough, she embodies it with radical presence, deep listening, and God given insight. She helps leaders build courageous action from the inside out. You're going to want a notebook and an open heart for this one, guys. Let's welcome Carol Metz Murray to the roundtable. Miss Carol, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for that super introduction. And I am just so blessed to be here with you today, Kenyon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, you are doing it all, it seems. And so it's my honor to have you right here on the show. And as we talked briefly before we went live, you've been super busy over the weekend speaking and engaging with the different people and groups. And so this is what you do, right? Why don't you officially introduce yourself to the viewers? Which part of the world are you in? And then what is it that God has you doing currently right now?
Well, I live in Canada on the West Coast, and I've actually lived in the far north. I
Wow.
spent time there with, as I smile, with the bears,
Wow.
and lived across Canada and the Canadian provinces as well. So I am Carol, and I started leadership training at the age of 5.
Wow.
Excuse me. And how did that happen? Well, I grew up on a farm. And my dad said to me one day, Carol, if you want to be with me and work with me on the farm, you need to learn how to lead. You're
Hmm.
going to learn to lead with the horses and with the turkeys. Now, those are two completely different beings.
Yeah.
Horses lead you, and turkeys, well, they're in flocks, and they really are different. And what do you do to lead turkeys? But in essence, that was the beginning of my leadership training.
Wow.
And, I am so thankful for that, really, really and truly, because that is where I learned that I'm here to serve,
Yeah.
and I'm here to serve others.
Yeah.
And that began, there was always leadership opportunities. I had my very first leadership position at the age of 19 when I was asked to step into an organization and, in essence, basic words, fix it up so that the organization could open up its doors.
Hmm.
It was a municipality, and there had been some issues and trouble
Okay.
internally. Did I have any training? Absolutely not.
Right.
None. But I said, okay. And I stepped in and looked at what needed to be done and did what needed to be done so that we, together with the elected officials, were able to open up the doors to begin to serve the community.
Wow. Wow.
And again, feeling really, truly blessed. It's just like, wow, uh, what a gift
Yeah.
that was. So that was the beginning of my leadership journey. Uh, in the midst of all of that, there certainly were some struggles, traumas as a little girl, that also over time helped me to gain the experiences and the gifts out of that. And yes, whether people agree with me or not, there is and are gifts when we move through trauma. Also, there was traumas as an adult. And although it was challenging to move through those traumas, but the more that I moved through them and the more that I really, truly learned about who I was,
Right.
that naked leader emerged.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you set it up perfectly, because that was where I wanted to go. Today, we're actually talking about guys from boxed to bold, courageous
Mhm.
actions, and the naked leader. And so I'm interested in that, because that's your phrase that comes from the work that you do. What is the naked leader?
Well, and I can say, well, again, it can be a deep hole with water in it.
Yeah.
The naked leader to me is the authentic, vulnerable, real you.
Mm-hmm.
And Kenyon, everyone is a leader.
Yes.
It's not that you put on your suit coat and out you go to lead a business.
Right.
Everyone, whether you're a mom, whether you're a dad, whether you are a youngster, everyone is a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't lead your life, someone else will lead it for you.
Yeah, for sure.
And I had to discover that the hard way. And I will preface that by saying, God called me a number of times and I wasn't listening.
Okay.
And finally, the message was, well, Carol, you haven't been listening, so I'm going to make you listen.
Wow.
And that's part of my journey to naked leadership, is as that young leader, determined to make a mark in the world, determined that I could do anything and everything. Well, I could. However, what I did as that really young person, young woman, young mother, as I established my career, I became a workaholic to hide my pain.
Yeah.
And I also took on some other behaviors to hide my pain.
Right.
And one day, living in the far north, on my way to another community, which was a 500 kilometer drive,
Mm-hmm.
300 of those kilometers, I drove consciously unconscious. Or another way of saying it was that I had totally disassociated from who I was.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing, because living in the far north, the highways aren't straight. You're driving around mountains. So
Okay.
I know someone was with me and someone was watching over me.
Yeah.
But when I came out of that in total panic, total anxiety, I knew something was wrong, something deeply wrong. And when I arrived at my destination and that was the day for my last class of my master's program, and then I would be writing my thesis, I called my doctor, and my doctor said, Carol, either you deal with this or I'll make you deal with it.
Mm.
And in essence, that was the beginning of naked leadership, because I had burnt myself out so badly.
Yeah.
My physical health, my mental health, everything was in tatters. And that was the beginning to discover who I really was. Who am I at my core? What is my heart saying to me? What is my soul saying to me?
Right.
And that began the journey of the naked leader. That began moving the sides of the box In fact, it began of opening the box and then moving the sides of the box and laying them down,
Mm-hmm.
because we all step into boxes, sometimes for short periods of time, sometimes for longer periods of time.
Yeah.
But really and truly, it's stepping beyond that box. And that was my journey out of that box, from boxed to bold.
Yeah.
And that really was like a rebirth of me,
Yeah. Yeah.
because this is me.
Right.
Having to let go of the workaholic, having to let go of being the people pleaser, having to let go that I needed to do it all. Absolutely not.
Mm.
Absolutely not. And I needed to be the leader in my own life, to take care of me so I could and would be there for others.
Right.
My family, my community, those that I did lead in organizations, but I needed to be me. I needed to understand
Mm-hmm.
who I was so that I would have um, that presence of being present for others.
Mm-hmm.
So that really is my journey in a nutshell.
What this is powerful, and I know that other people who are watching um may be feeling the same way, or maybe experiencing the same thing as you are. Honestly, someone watching right now may be listening but disassociated with themselves right now. What was that thing, if you could recall, or those series of things maybe that you can share, that put you in that place of disassociation? Was it because I hear you talking about the box and being placed in that box and having to step out? Was it that you were trying to be something that you weren't? Were you trying to be for others everything that they needed and neglecting yourself? What was it that you would say that got you to the place where you were just burnt out and you were totally disassociated from who you really were?
For me, it began as that little girl.
Mm,
And where it began was in my childhood trauma.
okay. Okay.
I was I was sexually abused by a neighbor.
Wow. Okay.
Went on for a number of years,
Okay.
and no one heard me, or if they did, they chose not to talk about it.
Right.
And I began, on one level, to close my heart because I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
And it was from there that I began to develop coping behaviors.
Yes.
So, all the while, still on another level, building my leadership skills.
Yes.
That disassociation, really and truly, and to me, it does really begin in the early stages of our life.
Mm.
However, it can also happen later on as well. I mean, when a person isn't heard, or when they're dismissed,
Mhm.
and they may also be told is, well, those are your emotions, deal with them.
Yeah.
All of those things create disassociation.
Right.
And then mix into that, in my situation, that, you know, that workaholic of, well, I will show everybody that I am enough. I will show everyone that I am worthy. I will show everyone that I can do it and I can make things happen. I
Mhm.
mean, I set myself up for the burnout.
Yeah.
And so really, as listeners, if you are feeling, that, say, there is emotions inside of you that need attention, and I will say to everyone, there are signs because your body speaks to you. That's one of the big things that I learned
Mm-hmm.
is my body had been speaking to me
Right.
and I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
And so when we don't, things like burnout can happen. Or it might be that somebody goes into a rage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, what's going on inside of you?
Right.
What's happening in that box?
I'm thinking of myself even as you speak, because I had a season in my life even where I was determined to prove to others that I was going to be successful. I was going to make it. I was going to do all the things I had set out to do, no matter if they agreed or not. And just really, that's one of those, like you said, one of those mechanisms of trying to run or outrun the trauma
Mm-hmm.
that you've had in your earlier years. And so I too can relate, because there was a season where I just was on go, and I made it all the way up to, executive levels in healthcare, very early in my 20s, managing and leading upwards to 100, people at a time. I mean, all these things, all these accomplishments, Carol.
Yeah.
And then immediately at the height and the pinnacle of all that, my body began to break down. Now, listen, I was late 20s going over into my early 30s, so still fairly young. And all of a sudden, my body began to break down, right? And I came from being this young guy who had never really been, to a doctor's appointment other than the checkups, to it. At one point, it had become habitual. It was like an every week thing. I was at the doctors trying to figure out what was going on in my body. And like you said, the body will tell you, it will give you signs that something has broken. By the
Mm-hmm.
time it shows up in your body, it's already done in your soul, right? And in your psyche. And so it wasn't until I started, Carol, really getting the counseling and, getting deeper even into prayer and my spiritual journey and things like that, where I began to try to heal me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where I would say, I'm taking your phrase, I guess that is where I started realizing the naked leader in me, like coming back to myself.
Yes.
What are some of those things? I know my journey, but what are some of those things that you did to start slowly coming back to yourself so that you could be that naked leader, that authentic leader that God had created you to be?
On my journey, as I began to discover who I was,
Mm-hmm.
one of the very first things, as I said earlier, in making that decision, okay, Carol, who are you? Then it was seeking support.
Okay.
And it was interesting in the support I sought in the medical realm. It was, well, you take these pills. That's
Yeah.
all I can do for you.
Right.
And my body just went, just no.
Yeah.
And I listened to that, and that's the other thing, your intuition, and we all have intuition. Pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was, I stepped into um, counseling,
Yes.
only to discover that my body said, no, that's not what you need.
Wow. Wow.
And the message that came there was, and it works for
Sure.
people. It didn't work for me, which
Right.
was really, I was quite shocked. But in essence, the message I got was that that's only working with this part. What you need to get into is to work the long part, the whole body, because there's trauma everywhere and wherever you have settled that trauma over time. And you may already know the saying. It's from a Sioux chief that says the longest journey you will ever take is from the top of your head to heart, that 18-inch journey.
Goodness. Yes.
So for me, one of the very first things that I needed to do was to learn how to get angry.
Wow. Okay. Yes.
How to begin to take the lid off of the box. See, that was a people pleaser. I stuffed my emotions down. No wonder my body was screaming.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that I did. Another thing was that my body said, you need to move.
Yeah.
And for me, it was getting out and walking. It was dancing.
Yeah.
In fact, in that period of time, I learned a daibo, which is a dance process that really takes you through the opening up of the trauma and then releasing it.
Wow. Okay.
And it's another way of referring to it is it's all about shaking off the butt, and it isn't B-U-T-T, it's B-U-T, butts we have in life. And that was also amazing because for me, it really began to move my body. And the more I moved my body, the more I actually felt the releases. And so, as I said, yes, walking in the wintertime, it was getting out and doing cross-country skiing. It was going to the gym and working out. But that was really, truly important for me. The other things that worked for me was modalities such as Reiki.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that too is energy work. And it's releasing energies that are stuck in your body. And the other part of what I also learned for me was coaching came into my life. And through coaching, I discovered really that, yes, I had the past, and the past was the past. And those were all my life experiences. But here I was right now. And what could I do to take those, to move those forward?
Right.
And through that process, another thing that was critical for me for opening the box is when we look at relationships, whether it's personal, whether it's work, it's the I plus I equals we.
Okay.
But there's another relationship. You stand back from the I plus I, then there's the I plus the little i's, and that equals me. And in that relationship, it's looking at all those little i's as they came, they came up, they come up.
Yes.
And it's like, what is the hook? So when I talk to modalities, another modality that I used, Kenyon, was what's referred to as the anger iceberg.
Okay.
So anger sits at the top. Anger is an expression of the emotions underneath that haven't been dealt with. And so often we talk about, well, you need anger management. From my perspective, you need emotion understanding and management.
Right.
So for me, it was to go in and discover what had me not feeling that I was enough, what had me not feeling that I was worthy, what had me not feeling that I was valuable or that I deserved a really great life.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, one of the things that really truly worked is journaling.
Right.
It's an amazing, amazing gift. Absolutely. And we all can do it.
Yeah.
It isn't that we do it, that the sentences have to be complete or grammatically sound, none of that. You just get it out.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked really, really wonderful for me as well.
These are such practical yet to me divine steps that you could take in order to begin to heal the body. I am a firm believer that the body keeps the score, and it will tell you where you are in life, and in the spirit as
Yes.
well. And these things that you're talking about are, I think, some of the perfect keys to use to really open those doors to freedom, in your heart, mind, soul, body, and all of the above, to be able to advance to the next level. But not just so that you can advance to the next level, but first and foremost, so you could just be well.
Yes.
I think so many times, us as people in business and entrepreneurship and leadership and all of that, whatever you want to call it, I think a lot of times we're so ready to be the next thing, and be at the next place or the next level, that we miss the value in just being well, and just being our authentic selves in the moment, and being able to walk around and say, I'm whole, I'm well. That writing piece that you talk about, I used to journal a lot since a boy. Um, and to be honest with you, I got away from it a little bit, as more responsibilities came on, that I took on more responsibilities. But here lately, I've been doing the same thing, going back to the writing, going back to the journaling. And I'm finding that it is that one of those mechanisms that help me offload so many different thoughts and emotions that are just bottled up inside. Um, what would you tell a leader who's watching right now, and they say, well, I'm doing everything that I possibly can to keep it all together? What would you say to that person? Should they be trying to keep it all together?
Well, that would be probably one of my first questions is, what do you mean
Yeah,
by keeping it all together?
right.
What is it that you're attempting to keep together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because what is going on inside?
yeah, yeah.
And again, as that naked leader, whatever is going on the inside is going to show up
Yeah.
on the outside. It truly is. That's why naked leadership begins with you and it begins with me. And you said a very, to me, critical word is,
Mm-hmm.
who are you being?
Mm-hmm.
That is the number one question. Who are you being? And if you're attempting to keep it all together,
Mm-hmm.
something sounds to me to be out of alignment.
Yep.
And when we're out of alignment, I know the journey that I walked. I
Mm-hmm.
know there were several seasons that I walked through.
Right.
So, in essence, after I ask the first question of really what's going on for you, then it's what are you willing to do about that?
Yeah.
Are you willing to stop and have a look at who you really are?
Mm-hmm.
Because who you are and who you are being really is all about stepping into being bold.
Right. Right.
And all we have to do is look at what's going on with individuals, with people, with men, with women in the world, and you can say, what's behind that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I am responsible for me.
Yeah.
You are responsible for you. And if you're holding it together, you could be holding a ton or two of whatever to attempt to move your life forward in your relationships, whether that be personal,
Mm-hmm.
with your partner, your wife, your children, your family, or it could be as a corporate leader or a business, and nothing is moving.
Yeah.
In fact, you're feeling rather stuck.
Mm-hmm.
What are you willing to have a look at?
Yeah.
And if I might share with you
Mm-hmm.
just a little story
Please.
of a male client that I worked with.
Okay.
And he came to me and he said, "You're a spiritual entrepreneur and I need to work with you." That was that. I did agree to work with him, and it was fascinating because he saw himself climbing this corporate ladder,
Mm-hmm.
except the rungs on the ladder kept breaking.
Wow.
So we worked together as he was carrying a load that was heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fascinating as he began to let go of the load that wasn't his to carry,
Right.
began to discover the naked leader. He discovered he was right where he needed to be.
Yeah.
And, yes, he was in the corporate world. Where he was in sales, and he was exceptional at sales. That was his gift.
Mm-hmm.
Going up the corporate ladder, that was an external thought, well, you need to climb the corporate ladder. How many times those messages are told to us? Do this and then you'll get
Mm-hmm.
that. It was amazing to watch his transformation. Yeah. And he did the transforming. I walked with him. I guided him. So really and truly, he was ready to have a look at what was going on. He was ready to take the lid off of the box.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be ready.
Yes.
And it will not work until you are ready. And I will even encourage those who are watching now, because I too was in this position of, well, I need to hurry up and get ready, right? I need to hurry up and get myself prepared to be free and to, no, I don't think that God even wants that from you. I think if you learn to get to a place of peace and know that God's Spirit will lead you into all truth, it will lead you where you need to be and where you need to go. Your main job is just to let go.
Yes.
You will get to a place of ready without you even knowing it.
Yes.
God
is always there.
Yeah.
It's for us to know that, and to see that, and to be aware of that. And God is always sending things our way. Are we open to it? That's the big question of who are we being? And one of the things I will share with you and your listeners is transformation happens when we're ready. What I have discovered is that transformation is ongoing.
Yes.
It doesn't just happen in one tiny little season of your life.
Right.
When you make that commitment to step into being you, there will always be something that will come along that will give pause for another self-image adjustment.
Right.
And it's time to have another look inside and go deeper into the core, into your soul of who you are.
Right.
Because leading is so many different things. I mean, here you are this morning, you're leading a podcast.
Right.
You can be that executive, but you can lead as a mother, you can lead as a father, you can lead as a wife, you can lead as a husband, you can lead as a grandparent. It's really, who are you being?
Yeah.
Because that is leadership. You can lead from the back, you can lead from the front. All of those things, when you open up the box.
Yeah.
And the question is, are you ready to open your box?
That's good. So good. So good. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen, to open that box? I do believe that some people, Carol, by listening to today, is left with that question, but some are answering right now in their heart and in their mind. You know what? I think it's time for me to open up that box and to really have a look at what's in there, what I've been trying to hold together. They will come to realize that some things they've been trying to hold together wasn't an authentic piece of themselves anyway. It was just a fragmented part of their brokenness. And so those things you let go, right? And you allow for the things that remain, that are you, to heal through the actions and the practices that you shared today. And those things that even, I believe, by way of the Spirit, they'll come into knowledge of even after this podcast. Carol, this has been phenomenal. How can people connect with you? You are a spiritual entrepreneur and leader and coach. So how can people connect with you and be walked through the journey of courageous action, taking bold steps and becoming that naked, authentic leader?
People can reach out to me through LinkedIn.
Okay.
And my handle on LinkedIn is Carol Metz Murray, as it is on the screen. You can also find me on my website, which is also Carol Metz Murray. You can reach out to me there and or on LinkedIn. And I would welcome an opportunity to have a discussion with you. Truly, truly. There is one tiny thing. Oh no, it's not tiny, it's huge, that I just thought of as you were talking, Kenyon. As we walk these journeys of who are you being and the journey of letting go and moving through your season, it is critically important that you forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself and release all that is within you, all that doesn't serve you. Yes, you can forgive others for causing hurt, because no one has the right to hurt another person. What I found in my journey is forgiving me was probably the hardest part of the whole journey, because that really got in deep into my heart, into my soul. So that is so important as part of this box, from box box to fold.
That is, woo, that's good, good, good. Somebody should practice today forgiving you.
Yes.
I know it's already hard trying to forgive others, but then when you get to that point, it becomes easy to say, you know what, that's that person's issue. I'm gonna let them be, even though they hurt me. I'm gonna forgive them and move on. But it's a whole nother work and process to look inward and say, these are the things that I'm mad at and upset about or hurt about because of me.
Mm-hmm.
And then to go to the next level and say, but I even let myself off the hook for not being perfect, for not being so great in that moment or whatever. So thank you so much for sharing that piece, very integral piece to the healing and to the stepping outside of the box, breaking it, and really walking in that boldness, Carol. Guys, the information is going to be below the video here in the description. Make sure that you stay connected with Carol. As you can see, such a sweet spirit, but also full of wisdom, full of light. And I want you to be able to experience the fullness of her coaching and what she has to offer to you so that you can be not a fragmented leader, but a whole leader, walking into the greatness of your life, and not having to spend the rest of your life frustrated and stuck in a box. God never intended us to be there. He intended us to be out and fully ourselves. Right, Carol?
Right. Absolutely. Fully accepting who we are.
Yes. Indeed. Fully. Thank you so much, Carol, for being here. This has been an amazing fireside chat. I really appreciate you for taking the time. I think I have developed a new friendship over there in Canada. Thank you so much. All the way from the States to you. We love you. We appreciate what you're doing. And you guys will be hearing more from Carol, hopefully on this platform. We'll have her back to share some more insight. All right. So Carol, hang tight. I'm going to wrap things up here. For those of you who tuned in and listened to this entire conversation, thank you so much for staying. I hope it was beneficial for you. Those of you who are just now coming in, go back and catch the replay. You do not want to miss a single drop of this special conversation that we had. I believe that God is calling you out of the box into wholeness, into boldness. It's going to take boldness in order to take a look at what's going on inside of you so that you can move with full, authentic wholeness. And you could be not just successful at doing things, but you could be successfully being who you are. Carol, again, thank you so much for your time. And for those of you who want more of this, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, TGLR Network, over there on YouTube. We've got so much more content that we're going to be sharing. This channel is going to evolve. So as you're following, you're going to see new content, new, fresh things that we're doing, creative things that we're going to be sharing with you. So it's not going to be always me just sitting, having a discussion. We've got new things coming on the horizon. You do not want to miss it. You want to be a part of the ecosystem. So make sure you subscribe now. And for those of you who want to be a part of the virtual summit, the Global Leaders Virtual Summit that's coming up in September, you want to be a speaker or you want to go and purchase some tickets to be a part of that, I'm going to put it up on the screen at the end of this broadcast so you can get the information and the link. Make sure you join us in September. I want to see you there. All right. For now, I'm your host, Kenyon R. Dudley, and I pray that you will find the boldness to look inside of the box that's been holding you down, holding you back. Find that willpower, that strength to break out of it and be fully you, the leader that God has created. Thank you. See you soon.